Good morning, Thailand. My name is Alex, and I have some news updates from around the land of smiles for you today, this Monday, January 6th. Now, before we begin, please remember to subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot. Now, today, we will be talking about some naughty Tuk-Tuk hanky panky, the Prime Minister's exorbitant wealth declaration, and a little later, some murder and intrigue involving foreign victims in Vietnam. But first, we begin with tragedy here in Thailand. A Spanish tourist was gored to death while bathing an elephant at a quote-unquote sanctuary. Now, Blanca Ohanguren Garcia, a 22-year-old Spanish tourist, was fatally attacked by an elephant at Koh Yao Elephant Care Center in Thailand. While bathing the animal, it unexpectedly sank its tusks into her, causing fatal injuries. Experts attribute the elephant's stress to unnatural interactions with tourists outside its ecosystem. Thailand has over 4,000 domesticated elephants, often used in tourism, facing isolation and harsh training. Garcia, a law student from Spain studying abroad in Taiwan, visited the sanctuary with her boyfriend. The incident raises ongoing concerns about ethical elephant tourism. Horrifying stuff. Like, you think you're in a sanctuary, you think you're in a legitimate place. I've seen this before, man. I've seen places where they chain up the elephants, right? They allow the tourists to ride them. There's plenty of unethically run elephant sanctuaries, quote unquote, where people are too close to them. They're around elephants that are stressed out. And this is not the first time this happened. It's like over the past 12 years, there's been hundreds of deaths attributed to elephants, whether they're wild or domesticated. In any case, the point is they are animals. They're large animals. And all it takes is one crazy decision by the elephant to end in tragedy. So this is unfortunate for the tourist, and it's something that people have to be aware of. There's very few well-run, actually safe elephant sanctuaries here in Thailand, and there's plenty of bad actors in the scene. So make sure to do your due diligence, and this is probably something that the government needs to crack down on in order to ensure the safety of the tourists who are coming to Thailand to enjoy the nature. Tough stuff. All right, moving on to the next story. This is a weird one. Now, a Russian tourist was stabbed in Pattaya, apparently over a misunderstood joke. Something got lost in translation. A 39-year-old tourist from Russia, Denis Rumianetsev, was stabbed in the leg outside a convenience store on Jomtien 2nd Road in Pattaya after a joke he made was misunderstood. I do comedy, but I don't think I'm that bad. The incident occurred early on January 4th as Rumiantsev had been drinking and attempted to joke with another group who reacted violently. Emergency services treated his heavy bleeding before transporting him to a hospital. Police are investigating the incident, reviewing CCTV footage, and waiting for the man to file a formal complaint. No word on what the joke was, though. I gotta know what it was, but either way, it doesn't matter. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Come on, people. So, very interesting to see, you want to be friendly, right? Thailand is a place where there's always, it's the land of smiles, right? So when you get into that mode, you think, okay, I can talk to people, drop a little line, drop a little joke. Maybe he said something inappropriate. In any case, I don't think it deserves a stabbing. The people stabbed him in the leg. He is okay, but it's still unclear exactly where the other people, the stabbers, were from and what the consequences for their actions will be. But at the end of the day, again, you never know who's just going to snap on you, especially when there's a group of people and there's a little bit of a mob mentality going on. But poor guy, yeah, I guess he won't be telling jokes anytime soon, it seems. But let me know your thoughts on that one. Are there words that could eventually push you to the limit and bust out a knife and get a little stabby on people? Or is that just never appropriate? I'm in camp never appropriate. Moving on. Here's a classic Thaiger story for you guys. Something fun on a Monday. Foreign tourists have been criticized for inappropriate behavior on a Phuket tuk-tuk. I'll let you guess what. Well, no, I won't. I'll tell you. A video of foreign tourists engaging in intimate behavior on a tuk-tuk in Phuket on January 3rd sparked outrage online. Come on. Shared by a Facebook user, the 37-second clip shows the tourists ignoring the driver's repeated warnings to stop while en route to their accommodation. The incident, which occurred near Patong Beach, drew mixed reactions, with some netizens joking and others expressing frustration over the disrespectful behavior. Locals have voiced concerns about the recurring issue of inappropriate tourist conduct, urging visitors to respect Phuket's cultural values to protect its reputation. Ooh, kissy kissy, hanky panky. Yeah, okay, so I think it's funny they at least threw a blanket on, right, like on top of each other to be able to like cover up the naughty bits. At the same time, if the driver is asking you for your safety, right, hey, please, guys, stop riding each other in the back. You're supposed to just be riding the tuk-tuk. Yeah, you should probably listen. But again, here's the problem, right? People get a little drunk, a little in the mood. They're in a romantic vacation in an exotic location. You can't blame them for wanting to, but you can blame them for where they're doing it. So, guys, yeah, please keep it in your pants if you're going to be on the tuk-tuks or anywhere in public, really. Nobody wants to see that. I mean, some people do. But we got families around, okay? So be careful and be respectful to your hosts here at the Land of Smiles. All right, next story. Okay, so we got another crazy tourist behaving badly in another way. These ones not making love, but war. Foreign tourists assault a Phuket taxi driver over a fare dispute. So, a viral video captured two foreign men attacking a Thai taxi driver in Phuket outside a supermarket on December 3rd, allegedly over fare dispute. The men, who had booked the service via the Bolt app, traveled from Patong to Talong over a fare of 570 baht, but only had 200 baht in cash. I mean, come on, that's like normal fares in Phuket. After requesting a stop for currency exchange, the driver asked for an additional 200 baht, okay, getting a little unreasonable, for the detour, sparking an argument and subsequent physical assault. Despite public outrage and calls for legal action, the driver declined to press charges, prompting mixed reactions from Thai netizens about the incident's handling. Look, okay. If you need the extra money, like, I'm a little torn on this one, right? Like, 570 baht, that was the fare. Don't agree to the fare and then get in and then not have enough money and say, okay, we need to go to a money exchange. At the same time, you know, taxi drivers wanting a little bit more for the detour. Is this reasonable or not? I'm a little torn. But the point is, shouldn't be violent at the end of it. No kicking cars, no kicking taxi drivers. It seems like the taxi driver is being the bigger man in the situation and not pressing charges. But at the end of the day, who is actually wrong in this situation? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Weird one. This is why I'm glad I have a Thai bank account. I can always just scan and not have to worry about it. Another thing, though, a lot of taxi drivers don't... Well, these guys just didn't have enough money. A lot of times taxi drivers don't have change. But every time I've done that, they've been decent enough to like stop at like a 7-Eleven or a newsstand or somewhere where I can get change. They don't charge me extra for that because then that's on them. But in this case, it was just the guys didn't have enough money. That's kind of on them for accepting the ride without actually having the cash to pay for it. All right. Here's a weird one. The illegal logging is an issue here in Thailand, and unfortunately it reared its ugly head in a very strange way as a tree fell on a Thai bus, injuring 11 people, including some British teens on vacation. So a bus carrying tourists in Kanchanaburi's Erawan waterfall was struck by a falling tree cut down by an illegal logger, injuring 11 people, including 3 British teens. The bus narrowly avoided plunging down a hillside as the driver brought it to a halt. Passengers suffered injuries from shattered glass and branches, with one Canadian tourist in intensive care. Authorities suspect deliberate logging, arresting a local man after finding tree-cutting tools in his truck. Officials pled to cover medical costs and launched a full investigation, emphasizing the need for stricter anti-logging measures. Yeah, that's pretty terrifying, like some Final Destination stuff. Like, you're right next to a busy road. Like, I don't know how you're not, all right, you're logging illegally, bad. And clearly he didn't know what he was doing because the tree fell directly onto the road where there were passing cars at the moment. Fortunately, it was a big bus, right, and not some smaller car that got completely crushed. In the end, there is still someone in intensive care, so this could end in tragedy, but fortunately, most people are relatively unscathed, but definitely puts a damper on your day, ruins your holiday, that's for sure. And yeah, I don't know how this can be remedied. While there's the incentives for this illegal logging, it's still going to continue to be a problem and persist. But yeah, hopefully they'll throw the book at him so that there's at least a warning out there to people. If you're going to do illegal logging, man, illegal activities, don't do it in such a brazen way. Eek. Anyways, hopefully those kids will be okay, and hopefully the Canadian in intensive care pulls through from this horrific incident. Tough stuff. Now, our last story for Thailand is, well, I'm a little late to the game for this one because the news broke on Friday after we all got out, but it is all the buzz. It's what everybody's talking about, and that is the extreme wealth of one Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra, as she declares over 13 billion baht in assets. That is hundreds of millions of dollars. Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra, only 38 years old, disclosed assets exceeding 13 billion baht and liabilities of 4.4 billion baht, according to the National Anti-Corruption Commission. Her holdings include, get this, 217 handbags. How many is enough? 23 luxury vehicles, Jesus, gold, jewelry, and properties in Thailand, Japan, and London. Okay, she's rich. Her income, primarily from dividends, totals over 265 million baht annually, while expenses reach 57 million baht. Notable liabilities include loans from family members. The declaration highlights her significant wealth and luxurious lifestyle, featuring investments across 32 companies and extensive land holdings. All right, so the memes came out. Everybody was making fun of this over the weekend. You know what family she comes from, right? It's a billionaire family. The numbers aren't really that surprising to everybody, but it just kind of goes to show you that Thailand, like so many other places, it is wealthy families, wealthy individuals that are able to hold and wield such influence over politics. The Land of Smiles is no exception to that rule. And in this case, it's very directly involved, as she is now the youngest prime minister, the second female prime minister, and of course the third prime minister from the Shinawatra family. Yeah. Love to know your thoughts on this. And is it acceptable for somebody with so much wealth to also wield so much political power? I don't know. I feel like we're in a weird era of the bourgeoisie in control of everything again, but I am no revolutionary. I'm not going to rock the boat that much, but I'm curious to know your thoughts, everybody. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Anyways, moving on. I have to work for a living. We are done with our Thailand section of the news, people, so we are now on to our ASEAN Now section, where I have a little bit of intrigue and, well, yeah, murder. To start us off, we are heading over to Vietnam, where a British woman and a South African man were found dead at a Vietnam villa. So a British woman, 34 years old, and a South African man, 36, were discovered dead in a villa in Hoi An, Vietnam on December 26th. Authorities found their bodies in separate rooms with no sign of external injuries or trauma, though empty alcohol bottles were present. The pair had been reportedly staying in the villa since July. The UK Foreign Office confirmed support for the woman's family, while South African authorities are yet to comment. Investigations are ongoing to determine the cause of death. So, yeah, okay, maybe not murder, but something fishy going on over here. Where was it self-inflicted? They were in separate rooms? Were they poisoned in some kind of way? The investigations are ongoing, but the point is, mid-30s, lovely looking people, and mysterious death. This is one of those problems that we see in a lot of Southeast Asian countries where the investigations aren't very forthcoming, right? This stuff happened on December 26th, so it's been a couple of weeks, but now we're only just kind of hearing the news about it in the past couple of days. So why? Why was that the case, and why is the information being withheld? We're curious to know, because this kind of thing can have a big impact on the tourism industry of these countries, right? And a lot of times these countries, these governments don't exactly want the truth to be exposed because it could have a detrimental effect on that tourism industry. But we have a right to know, I think, and I'm curious to know exactly what happened here because that's right in my age range, man. And I could easily be one of those tourists in Vietnam winding up mysteriously dead. So knowing the truth is much more important than potentially the detriment that it could have on the tourism industry. My thoughts. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to keep my eye on that story, and hopefully we get some answers sometime soon. Moving on, let's get into our next story as we are heading to the Malaysian-Myanmar border. Now, Malaysia is intensifying patrols to locate Myanmar migrant boats. That's right, Malaysia's Coast Guard has doubled patrols and initiated air surveillance to locate boats carrying undocumented Myanmar migrants after 196 were detained on Langkawi Island on Friday. Authorities suspect 2 more boats remain at sea. The migrants, possibly including Rohingya refugees, were fleeing persecution in Myanmar. Malaysia, a common destination for Rohingya, has toughened its stance in recent years, turning away boats and detaining thousands. Since 2010, over 2,000 undocumented Myanmar migrants have been apprehended, attempting to enter Malaysia by sea. Coordination with Thai authorities is ongoing to track the boats' movements. This is the sad stuff, man. Like one of those things where we have refugee status, right? These people are obviously trying to flee violence and persecution in their home country, trying to escape and find better lives. And certainly there's no shortage of people coming from Myanmar over to other Southeast Asian countries just to find work, to escape the violence. Can you blame them for that? And what kind of responsibility do the other countries, the neighbors nearby, have to be able to take in these refugees when their economies are struggling in the first place too, in order to find jobs and create enough wealth for their own citizens? This is why the governments of Malaysia and Thailand are working together to send a lot of them back, which is just heartbreaking. Do Western countries have more of a responsibility? Wealthier countries have more of a responsibility? Or is this just something that Myanmar needs to figure out on its own? Big questions, no easy answers, just would love for the violence to end so that people can get back to, the business of running a country. But tough stuff. Anyways, I'm going to move on to another weird, kind of sad story coming from Singapore, as food deprivation is amongst Singapore's domestic helpers' biggest concerns, apparently. So I guess they can be hired to clean up the house, but not to join for dinner. Migrant domestic workers, or MDWs, in Singapore face troubling food restrictions, with welfare groups reporting cases of malnutrition and exploitation. The Ministry of Manpower received 630 annual complaints about insufficient food between 2019 and 2023, often attributed to employer-employee miscommunication. Cases include a Filipino worker surviving on instant noodles due to employer criticism and an Indian worker restricted to leftovers and monitored via cameras. Food deprivation is frequently linked to other abuses such as verbal or physical mistreatment. Advocates argue that the legal requirement for adequate food is too vague, leaving room for exploitation. Both workers have since moved to better employment situations. Like, this one kind of grosses me out, man, because Singapore is obviously a very wealthy little city-state where tons of people, it's pretty much a standard practice within their culture to have domestic workers basically living with you, living in your house and cleaning up after you and doing all of that stuff. Very standard practice, but also very mistreated. And in this case, there are people, they're not hungry, they're just numb. So it's dehumanizing, right? Like, sorry, here, we're going to have this lovely meal that you prepared for us, that you cooked for us, but here, enjoy your instant noodle diet, which is obviously not a healthy way to live and eat all of the time. So, I don't know. It's like a de facto caste system. How do you pronounce it? But yeah, I don't really like this. I remember seeing one Anthony Bourdain travel video there where he was talking with his Singaporean hosts who were like, oh yeah, it's totally common. Everybody has a domestic helper. Everybody has one to take care of them and stuff like that. And then Bourdain is sort of like, well, who takes care of the domestic helpers? And it kind of like fried their brains. Like, they did not consider these people to be people, right? They saw them as, like, you know, sort of indentured servants kind of thing, and it put them in the most awkward situation that Bourdain then had to navigate his way out of and be like, haha, I'm just messing with you. But yeah, it's clearly been a problem in Singapore for a long time, and here we're seeing it rear its ugly head again. But yeah, gross. I have to say, you know, Singapore, if you're watching, take care of the people taking care of you. In any case, yeah, I guess not my business. I'll move on. Where I'll be sticking my nose into some other country's business, South Korea. For our last story, protests have broken out in the freezing weather conditions amid the arrest warrant for President Yoon Suk Yeol. Thousands of protesters braved freezing temperatures in Seoul to rally both for and against President Yoon Suk Yeol, who faces an arrest warrant after declaring martial law in December 2023. The National Assembly swiftly overturned the decree and impeached Yoon, accusing him of a rebellion. A Seoul court issued warrants for his arrest and a search of his residence, but attempts to enforce them failed due to resistance from the Presidential Security Service. With the warrants expiring soon, tensions remain high as anti-Yoon protesters accuse security forces of shielding a criminal while supporters rally to defend him. Several officials involved in the martial law controversy have been detained already. So this is wild to me. Like, there's court issues, mandated searches and arrest warrants. The president is using his own personal security force to stop the enforcement of those warrants. He's holed up in his presidential residence. This is like a movie. I don't really understand what's going on. It feels like the movie Civil War that came out last year, where the president was holed up with the Secret Service, and then they had to like barge in there and break in there and commit violence to actually bring him out. Still hasn't escalated to that point in South Korea, but wild to me how controversial this man is. Thousands coming out for and against him in order to try to resolve this issue, but it seems like it's going nowhere. Now, the president, a conservative, was apparently frustrated with not being able to pass his policies, hence the declaration of martial law. The opposite party overturned that, which I think probably, you know, was an overreaction to declare martial law in the first place. But here, there's no end in sight. This is still ongoing, so we will keep our eye on it for you guys and try to keep you updated with the craziness coming out of Korean politics. Hopefully, yeah, pretty nuts over there. All right, cool. So let me wrap up the show, and then I'll get into the comments, guys. That'll do it for the Thaiger. Good morning, Thailand today. Thank you for joining us. You can always go to thethaiger.com for more news updates throughout the day. We keep it posted with new live news updates constantly throughout the day. So if you want to stay informed, head over there. If you'd like to join the conversation, you can go to the one, the only ASEANnow.com, which is Thailand's largest expat forum and swiftly growing around the ASEAN region. Finally, yeah, let me get into the comments and see what you guys have to say about these stories.